Hey. Okay, Rabbi Isai. I've still got last week's questions, which is the good news. Happy to take a couple more, but I need a pen if anyone's got on them, so I can finish off. Okay, now, anyone got questions? I've still got last week's, I'm still got it in front of me here. Anyone else for this week's big questions? Okay, yeah. What questions? Yeah. I love that. It's this Lomdish or Shaila. Lomdish. Is vaping on Purim allowed? There's like two chelokim to that question. It's the vaping part, there's the Purim part.
Is vaping no?
Yeah, vaping like on Purim, if it's not vaping, is it? Okay.
Is vaping cool?
Alright. Next, yeah. Yeah. Just shout it out, otherwise, no, yeah.
What's the balance on Purim of being sensible versus
sensible versus?
having versus a private edition?
Sensible alcohol.
Okay. We're already 6 weeks. We need 6 weeks for this shit. It's going to be, I know it's other edition, but we keep putting in the second month. Achonas, okay, yeah.
You know the Nana Nachman thing, what's that all about?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, I always like see it and stuff.
What do you mean? What do you say to
You
me?
see like stickers and you see like stuff, I just don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, next.
Okay, I already heard an answer this, but I want to hear you. What happens if you have students in a classroom and one class wants the window open?
Okay. Windows open, windows closed. Who are you? Kugel Kegel. Yeah.
Is there any halachas of Purim cotton?
Yeah, no tachanun. No tachanun. But, okay, I still got last week's questions as well. So let's see what we can do so we can throw it in. Okay, we'll try and deal with the... If I keep your pen. Okay, we're ready on the Purim question. We're 6 weeks away. 6 weeks. I'll put this on. Okay. It's even more than 30 days. Okay. Let's deal with a couple of these questions. Let's see. Since it's a Shchesh Adar, okay, we can deal with Purim, even though we're not going to deal with it properly. We'll deal with it as we get there nearer the time. But just to mention it, since it's Me'inyan Shchesh Adar. Mishenichnas Adar Marbim B'Simcha is because it's HaChodesh Asher Nepach Miyogin B'Simcha. It's not just one day in Adar, which is a special day. The whole month is HaChodesh Asher Nepach Miyogin B'Simcha. We know it's halacha that if you have a court case, whatever it is, with a non-Jew, then you want it to be in Adar. So it's the Chodesh Adar that has significance. And that is because there's something very profound about Adar. Adar is, on one hand, it's the furthest month from the beginning of the year. So what? Yeah, so what's the difference? Nisan represents the miraculous state of the Jewish people when Akash Baruch Hu took us and raised us above everything, and he was the one that did all these incredible nisim for us, Yetzias Mitzrayim. Sit back and watch as the Rebbeinu Shalom smashes Mitzrayim to pieces. He takes us out in a blaze of glory. And we're the furthest removed from that by the time you reach Adar. And there's a reason for it being the last month, because in some way it's actually supposed to be the darkest month, since we're the most furthest removed from the glorious beginnings of the Jewish people, which is the Nisim, which are the days of incredible uplifting and elevated status of Klal Yisrael. Now we find ourselves in the dark, and of course Purim is all about Mitoicha Hester, from within the darkness of the situation, where it looks bleak, where Achashverosh, Haman, they're ready to get rid of all of Klal Yisrael, and we dig deep and able to do tshuva. There's no miraculous, supernatural nisim that take place, but the Yad Hashem is there throughout, and that's the great nace of Purim. The Chodesh, which is Nepach, is actually amazing. It's not simply, it went from bad to good. It went from being a bad month, which it was, when Haman throws lots, and it turns out, in Chodesh Adar, he's delighted, that's it, we're going to get rid of the Jewish people. There's a reason why he's delighted. He's right. He's right. As is often known in Torah thought, Rishoim are not crazy people. Rishoim are wicked. They're not crazy. get that. Hitler Yamach Shemai was wicked. He wasn't crazy. He was wicked. That means to say, he said, we want to get rid of the Jewish people or the conscience of the soul. And he said, if there's a Jew, the Jews don't allow us to live in peace. In fact, Moshe Shapiro used to say, he didn't say stories that often, but one story he actually repeated several times was a story when the Mir Yeshiva were in Shanghai. They escaped to Shanghai, and one of the Bochum happened to hear on the radio, what they nicknamed Oisei Rasha, Hitler Yamach Shemai, screaming. He used to scream. An address he heard that we have to get rid of the Jews who don't allow us to live in peace. And this Jew heard this, and he came back to the Mashkiach, to Rabbi Yerucham, and he said, I don't understand. What do you mean we don't allow him to live in peace? What have we done to him? What, we don't allow him to live in peace? What's he talking about? And the Mashkiach said, he's speaking the MS. He's saying the exact truth. Because as long as there's one Jew out there, one Yid, who lives in this world, who doesn't even speak to any of them, but his very existence says, you have to be moral. There's a God, and you have to answer to him, and you have to live your life correctly. You can't be an animal. You cannot do what you want to do. That's what the Jew screams, without saying a word. That's his whole being. We stand for the morality of the world, for a world that is responsible to do the will of its creator, of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And he said, the Mashkiach said, Hitler Yamach Shemai is absolutely right. As long as there's one Yid out there, that's true. It's mevatel everything that they stand for. The Rishonim were not stupid. They were wicked. They were evil. Nimrod, Meschaven Yodeya Esri Bainai, or Meschaven Limrod by it says about Nimrod. He knew HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He knew exactly. But he rebels against him. You're going to ask me, how is that possible if a guy knows what Hashem... That's an interesting question as to why that's the case. But Haman also knew. The Gemara says nobody knew Lashon Hara like Haman. What does that mean? The Gemara asks, what do you mean? And the Gemara says, yeah, there's Am Echad Mefuzah Mefurad Bein Ha'amim. He knew exactly what they're capable of, but they're Mefuzah Mefurad, they're scattered, they're not together. And not just that, they're not, he said, well, Achashverosh said, but I'm afraid of the Chachamim. What about the Rabbanon? He said, nah, they don't listen to them. Now the point is, Haman knew exactly. Haman knew exactly what was happening. And therefore I'm bringing this to show that when he threw the lots and it turned out to be Chodesh Adar, and he was so happy, he was right. It's a Chodesh which is a dark month. He didn't make a mistake. He was right. But it's a Chodesh nefach miyogein lesimcha. The Chodesh itself, we took this month, which is the first of Nisan, and we turned it around and we made it into a month of Simcha. How so? By revealing that a Yid gets the message that even though we're furthest removed from the glorious Nisim of the month of Nisan, but if we dig deep and understand that what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants in this world is for the Jew to realize that Hashem is running the show, whether there's incredible Nisim or it's absolute what looks like Teva, when we get that message, we turn around the month. And we made it into a month that was bad, now we turned it into good. Meaning, so that again, it was a bad month, we turned it into a month that now becomes a good month. Etc. In fact, we came to the realization that we might be the furthest month from Nisan, that end, but we're one step away from Pesach, the next year. In other words, what looks like we're far away from Nisim, no, you're always close to Nisim. A Yid is always connected to Nisim. And this is the Chodesh Shenepach. That's why, even though you say Purim 6 weeks away, and Adar Rishon, Adar Sheni, but it's a Chodesh Shenepach, Miyogin Simcha. The whole of Adar is a celebration. So it is shaykh to speak about Purim. That was our introduction to today, Be'ez Hashem. So first, you mentioned, was vaping on Purim. As we said, two parts of that. There's the vaping part, and there's the Purim part. Okay, let's speak about both of those. Huh? Yeah, so I think you have to realize like this. There's an important point here. Why do people, and you've got to be careful because it depends where and who and how and what. It's a sensitive point. Why do people vape? Why do people have drugs? Why do people have coffee? we'll get to the Purim part. We'll get to that. So there's two parts. There's vaping and Purim. I'm first in the vaping, then the Purim part. So why do people have that? It's not a good thing. I have coffee. I need to have a coffee. I have to have a coffee. Every day I have to have a coffee. Is that a good thing? That's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. Why? Why do you have to rely on something else? It's not a good thing. It's chesaron. Lamaisa, it's not. It doesn't have any serious negative side effects. Yeah. And if you keep it to something normal and not having 50 coffees a day, then it's not so bad. And that's considered normal. Yeah, it's normal. But the etzem fact that you rely on something, not ideal. Okay, that was the easy version. Now what about drugs? Hardcore drugs. What's wrong with the guy? Why would the guy do that? That's ridiculous. What I'm saying, again, logic. What are you doing? So you're stimulating yourself to be incredibly high, but that's not genuine. It's not really you. If you're looking to be excited and you want to get high, you want to be excited, you want to be like feel energized. So do you think that comes simply from drugs? How's it going to help you? And so you have the drugs, and then they run out, and then what are you? It's not you. It's not you. So if you realize that you're not chaser, you have it inside of you. You don't need that. You think, I need that to get me there. No, you don't. You can get there anyway, in a much more genuine fashion. Anything that requires outside stimulus, especially if it's something that's dangerous, right? The difference is coffee is not dangerous, but drugs is dangerous. So obviously, from a logic point of view, it's ridiculous. But now let's go a bit softer. Soft drugs, it's not so dangerous, a little bit dangerous, yeah? Again, for a person to start doing that, why? So usually the answer to that is, what's the answer? So usually, why would somebody do that, huh? Peer pressure. It's cool. It's cool. It's good. Everyone's doing it. It's cool. So that's kind of the line of every bad thing the Yetzer Hara gets us to do. It's cool. It's something, everyone's doing it anyway. Everyone's doing it anyway. So how has there ever been, if we followed that excuse of everyone's doing it anyway, Avraham Avinu never would have been Avraham Avinu. I can't just do everybody's all right, everyone's doing it anyway. It's not logic. It doesn't make sense that everyone's doing it anyway. Is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? Smoking. It's a good thing or a bad thing? Terrible. Why would a guy do that? It's going to kill you. Yeah, but you might not die. There's lots of people that survive to like 90 and not lots anyway, but why would you do that? You know why? Because everyone's doing it. It's cool. If you need a cigarette to become cool, then there's a chesaron in your coolness. In other words, you've got to recalibrate what is cool. Cool is what? That's cool. Why can't you be cool? Somebody who's happy-go-lucky. I'm thinking of a particular guy I know. This guy is Tucker cool. I'm thinking about it just in my head. So what makes him cool? He's just very easygoing. Everyone loves him. He's just good to be around other people. He's just naturally cool. He doesn't need a cigarette to make him cool. He's such a fun-loving guy that he's just a dude. He doesn't need these other things to make him cool. And if you do, then you're not really cool. So and it's not anything which is bad for you. So why are you relying on that? It doesn't make any sense. Now vaping is much, much, much softer because vaping, so if you're a heavy smoker and now you're going into vaping, great, that's amazing. It's a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah. Because the guy was smoking heavy stuff and he can't get off it, and now the only way to get off it is to vape. Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad. Again, it's always about which direction are you going? Which direction are you going? Right? If this is considered an upgrade for you because you're previously doing something much worse, good thing. But if you're just like, well, why not? So again, it's relative. Is it harmful? Is it not harmful? It's not cigarettes. It's not as harmful. It isn't. I mean, I'm not so much in the know exactly of how harmful it is at the moment. It is harmful. Isn't it harmful? I don't know. Is it kosher? That's another question. I don't know. Maybe ask that one. Has it got a hechsher on it? Does you need a hechsher? Okay, a separate story. Huh? Does it not? Well, you're not actually eating it, but I don't know, if it was pig valves, would you like, if I gave you, here's some pig stuff, would you inhale it? Inhaling is a type of it. I don't know. It's yesh lodem out there that you can think, I don't know, I'm not paskening. I haven't looked into it. But I would say this. I would say it depends. If the boss b'chalav, you can't do it, yeah. So avoid the boss b'chalav vapes. The ones that say boss b'chalav on him. You see that one over there, the boss b'chalav one? Don't take that one, okay? Don't take that one. So you have to know who's asking. I'm going to say two things here. The first thing is, medically, it's not particularly crazy harmful. But if you ask, like, what's the point of a guy doing it? Why are you doing it? What is it? That's the cool part? That's what makes you cool, yeah? That's a bit sad. If that's what makes you cool, then you're not exactly cool. there's something wrong here. If you're relying on that to get yourself friends and to be in there with people, I don't know, it's a bit weird. But again, if everybody's doing it, so then your pressure is going to be but everyone's doing it. But not because everyone's doing it, you have to do it. And if you're, let me just say the frum answer. Okay, it's a bit harsh, but we've got to say harsh things sometimes. And if you're frum, if you're genuinely frum, so then what are you doing? Then there's really no excuse. What are you going to say? Because what does it do for you? I don't know. Unless the guy just, and I'm not really clear as to what it might do for a person. If the guy doesn't realize that it's bad or something, again, depends on the society that you're in. Let me discuss I'm not giving you a clear answer. I'm just saying I don't really get why a guy would do that. I don't really understand why a person would get into it. I don't really get it. But certainly smoking is a lot worse. Why would a guy start smoking nowadays? I really don't get that. I don't know. It's a bit sad. Why do people do that? Everyone knows the dangers of it. Why would you start smoking? Why would you do that to yourself? It's like, it doesn't make any sense. It makes absolutely no sense. Yeah.
Whoever said in his book that if you see a chocolate cake, then that's where your desire will come. So surely, if it gives you an element of physical enjoyment, then surely maybe that's the reason why one would.
Oh, of course. Oh, yeah. I'm sure people will enjoy it. All gashamis is enjoyable. Of course it does. I say it's not enjoyable, but I'm saying, why does one need to? Like you don't need. The point is this: you don't need it.
Yeah.
Nobody needs it. It's not something needed, right? So that's the issue. I wanted. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Ross said that it's meant to go from cigarettes to vapes. That means smoking's an avera.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then why do so many people
I'll go to
smoke?
smoking.
I don't know.
Red punish members.
I don't know. Don't say that. Be careful. I don't want to say. Don't say lashon hara.
Also didn't rub on him.
I don't know.
Didn't rub on him.
Yeah, but that's before he did.
So before they knew it was bad for you, I hear that. I don't know why genuine Ovid Hashem. I don't know how any genuine Ovid Hashem could smoke. On the other hand, you'll say to me, yeah, but I'm sure you've eaten. I'm sure you've eaten more than you're supposed to on occasion. And I'm talking to myself. I'm not myself here. Yeah. No. I'm mamish to myself. No, I'm serious. I'm saying, so you'll say to me, yeah, I'm saying you're going to say to me, right? Yeah, but I'm sure you've eaten more than you're supposed to on occasion. That's also not supposed to do that. Enoch, you're right. Enoch, but that's a bit more difficult. I'll tell you why. Because eating is normal. It's normal to eat. And it's not so easy to necessarily say, Ad kan, and then I'm not eating anymore. That's really more difficult. Eating is normal. So to eat more than you're supposed to is just doing a normal activity and just doing it a bit too much. I get that. It's not the same as let's pick up a cigarette, which is why do you get involved in the first place? Yeah. I'm just talking to myself. You should know I wasn't.
So shouldn't you say the same with like sweets and things? They don't.
Ain't no ganami. Rabbi Victor Miller didn't touch any of this stuff. If you want the emes answer, you don't touch for sweets. You don't touch coke. Ain't no ganami. But that's really a little bit more normal because firstly the effects are not as bad.
Anyway,
yeah, and eating and drinking is part of normal life. But smoking, nobody told you to do that. It's not needed as part of your life. And therefore, it's a bit inexcusable to get involved with that. Yeah.
If a person, to help him learn better, he plays football, Xbox, whatever. So it's the same with the vaping. If it helps, if it lets him relax.
Yeah, but if it's dangerous, then there's no headset to do such a thing. It makes me. I learn better if I eat chaza. Like it doesn't help you. If it's asa, it's asa. Even if it makes you learn better.
Some doctors do this.
That's CBD.
Come on, it's Yetzirah. Yetzirah, come on.
Some rap people does have a
Yeah, it's different.
I don't know. I don't know. But let me just address a second. Yeah, go on.
Are you allowed to vape on a farm?
I don't know the answer to that. Mistoma, you're allowed to because you're not actually eating anything. So Mistoma, you're allowed to. But one second, vaping on Purim. Now I want to address vaping on Purim. What was the shayla on Purim? I have no idea why you asked vaping on Purim, but etzem, I know why you asked it. Because you're saying, but if you don't vape outside of Purim, there's absolutely no heter on Purim. I don't get that. If I said to you, why didn't you ask me, is chazar allowed on Purim? No. If it's awesome, again, the discussion is not relevant to Purim. On the contrary, if you do something on Purim that is neged Torah, that's the worst thing about Purim. In other words, the only thing Purim you can do is drinking, and that's for a separate reason. A separate reason. In other words, to get drunk the rest of the year is disgusting and disgraceful, and you shouldn't do it. Mama shouldn't do it. Rambam writes, that's not a Ben Torah, doesn't do that. But on Purim, it's a mitzvah. That's a separate story. Separate story. But it's a separate inyan as to why that is the case, and we'll discuss that. But what about smoking on Purim? If smoking is also, why did it become a mutter on Purim? I don't understand. Purim all of a sudden is a heter to them behave like a non-Jew. Isn't it the opposite? Aren't you supposed to behave like a Jew? Like, isn't Purim the whole side of Purim, by the way, is to do Gashmias in a way that we show that we do it differently. It's the Gemara. The Gemara says, right? So the Gemara asked, was it only on the 7th day that he got drunk? He got drunk the whole time, Achashverosh. Well, on the 7th day, the Gemara says, the answer is, the 7th day corresponded to Shabbos. Which means that in Shamayim, that's what the Gemara says, in Shamayim, on the 7th day, they said, wow, look at this, Rabbi Isai, look what's going on here. Down there in that world, the human beings, they're eating, they're drinking, they're getting drunk, and they're just speaking disgusting stuff. It is disgraceful, that party. Absolutely manuval dicka stuff. It was the 7th day. And you know what? That's their 7th day of this party. Let's have a look what the Jewish people do on their 7th day, on the Shabbos. Oh, here's a picture of a Yid. Yoima Shishi. And he's singing, and he's Zmiros, and he's saying praises to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the Gemara says, because it was the 7th day, it was Ma'ir in Shemayim, a limud zchus, on Klal Yisrael. A limud zchus. Look what they do on their 7th day, disgraceful, disgusting, manuval dicka things. And look what we do on our 7th day. We drink wine, and we say serious v'sishpachos to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the contrast actually was the beginning of the success of what turned around the whole Purim story. Amazing, because it was actually B'Shas Maisa when the Jewish people were actually at that same Suda. In Shemayim, there was still a zchus for Klal Yisrael because of our Shabbos Kodesh. What does it mean? When we get drunk on Purim, the whole thought of getting drunk on Purim, the whole idea of getting drunk on Purim is to do it like a Yid. To get drunk and to sing Shiros V'Sishpachos. To get drunk and to say, you are the one that controls the world. To cry like a baby in tefillah. To praise Hashem, to sing, to dance, to bring out the pnimius of a person, the ruchnius of a person. That's the whole Yesod of Purim. The whole point is that they drink, and look what happens to them, but we drink, and what comes out is a different world. Why don't we do that every Shabbos if that's the case? The answer is because it's not so posh to do it. It's a very, very hard avodah to get drunk and do it be'etzem, to do it properly. That's exactly this point. Because most people are just going to go jump around. But if getting drunk is just you're just going to turn into a football hooligan, then don't get drunk, because you're going against the whole idea of Purim. But if getting drunk means everyone's going to be labor and dancing and singing and together, and everybody's jumping up and down, L'man Hashem, and singing and dancing, then that's an amazing thing. And then the contrast between how they drink and how we drink is brought out. But only once a year is this avodah brought out. Only once a year. So vaping on Purim is like a stirum in obey, meaning, so now it's Purim, let's just go completely mad and go completely non-Jewish. That's the antithesis of Purim. You can go mad, L'man Hashem, but that means not mad. That means labor happy, dancing, together, singing. That's what's good. So vaping on Purim is not a heta. Yeah.
Is it a worse idea if...
No, shooting someone's head off with a machine gun is much worse. Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, go on.
Is it a worse idea if when you're under age or two, it's your parents wouldn't want it?
Yeah, so I'm telling you, the drinking on Purim is the hardest mitzvah to do. You should know, I'm older than you guys, and every year there's this aspect. I have to be careful I say this, but I mamish dread Purim in this aspect. Like, it's not easy to do. If you're going to mess up and do averus, right? Chas v'shalom, you're not allowed to get drunk. If your parents are going to be very upset because you're going to end up lying in the gutter with vomit all around you, right? Then you can't do it. You can't do it, yeah?
I meant vaping this time of year round.
Oh, yeah, anything to stop vaping. Listen, I'm just careful about saying, because there are, on the one hand, there's definitely worse things you could do than vape. It's not major. It's not major. On the other hand, why would a guy do it? Like, you don't need to do it. So it's a bit of a balance. If someone vapes, it's not like, it's postulatus. It's not like it's the worst thing in the world. But just if you're just don't need to do it. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, moving on. Okay, so, just today's questions, then we'll go back to last week's questions. I can't say much about Nana, Nachman, etc. But I can say about, it is actually brought down in the Gemara about how to get rid of a Shin Daled, is you go backwards and you say the name of this thing and you knock off a bit each time. The opposite of, and the building up, there is a yisoid in that Nachman, Mu'man business. There is a yisoid of doing that. That was your question about how does that actually work, those wording, that's what they're trying to do. But we never daven to people. That's one of Yud Gimel Ikrim. We daven to Hashem. So if you want to say Bizchus, Bizchus Reb Shail ben Ramosha or whatever, you can say Bizchus, but don't forget the word Bizchus. Don't forget, the guy came to me the other day, knocked at my door, and he's collecting for whatever it was, for himself, and he had a card machine. Okay, I love that. It's good when they get the card machine. So I said, listen, I'm happy to tap. I just don't know if it will go through. So I'm tapping, and I said, okay, we just got to daven. And he said, oh, Shaila ben Moshe. I said, just say Bizchus Shaila ben Moshe. I just said the Bizchus part, right? Don't daven to Shaila ben Moshe. Say Bizchus Shaila ben Moshe. That's okay. It didn't go through. It didn't go through. So there, don't worry, Baruch Hashem. I found some cash. I gave him cash. He was very happy. We're all very happy, Baruch Hashem. But it's got to be Bizchus of Shaila ben Moshe, not Shaila ben Moshe. Anyway, so I'm saying Nach, etc. Rabbi Nachman people forget. You have to understand. Rabbi Nachman was a Gaon in Torah. He was somebody that opened up the world of Chassidus in a very, very deep and profound way. Learn Rabbi Nachman's Torah, it's very, very hard. When I was in the Mir, I was a bocher in the Mir. I wasn't even married yet. At lunchtime, I think it was a Thursday, I used to pop down the road to Breslov. I tried this 4 times. I wanted to see what I went to a Breslov shir. I'm sorry, let's hear it, yeah? I didn't understand a word, to tell you the truth. I did not understand a word. It was very deep Torah, very hard. They were learning Kutim Aran of Nachman, and this was the Bechin of this, Bechin of that. It was very, very hard. I partially didn't understand. I only went about 3, maybe 4. But it's Torah. Right? Breslov is a Torah. It's not just a movement, right? Chassidus is Torah. There's so much to be gained there. Don't make the mistake of thinking it's just about, whatever it is, just about saying his name. Learn his Torah. Sit down and learn the Kutim Aran. Do you know Tzvi Cheshen? Tzvi Cheshen is a Gaon Otzum. He's a tremendous, tremendous yid. So he gives a shir, probably the only shir in the world at this time. Probably the only shir. He gives a shir Wednesday night in Yerushalayim at, I think it starts at 1 and goes till 3. 1 till 3. A.M. in the morning. A.M. Right? So I once went to the shir because I was anyway going to the airport, not because I was starting to stay up late. I had to be at the airport at 5, so I thought, let's go to the shir. Tzvi Cheshen in his house. First, I was just blown away just by being in the shir. I'm like, you're sitting there in the shir. It's in his house, and these people, these are like Heiliger people. Every week they're there from 1 till 3. Every week, they listen to the shir. He's unbelievable. He keeps going on, and he gives the shir on the Kutim Aran. Now, Tzvi Cheshen is an absolute gon. In Nigler, in Nista, you can ask him from anywhere, anything. He's unbelievable. Bli Ayin Hara, right? And his shir is in what? In the Kutim Aran. Kutim Aran is a deep, deep sefer. Very, very deep sefer. Realize that when we talk about Breslov, it's not simply just, jumping up and down. It's very, very profound. So that's important that you realize who is part of Klal Yisrael. Okay, next. Windows open, windows closed. I'm never going to solve this machlokes. But I'll tell you one thing. Windows open, windows closed. The general psak is, by the way, that if it's cold, right, then usually it's the windows closed. Right? That's just posh up shot. But you should know like this. You should just know. I happen to be a windows closed man. I'll explain to you why, and I'll just explain to you my point of view. Maybe I have a bit of Rahmanos. You see, when you have the windows open, windows closed, machlokes, it depends. The guy who needs to open, what's his lashon? Does he say, let's have the window open? No. He says the window needs to be open because, why? Why needs to be open? No, he doesn't say start. He says better than just hot. Fresh air. It's stuffy in here. Fresh air. Right? Meaning, he makes you out, the other guy who wants it closed, you're the guy that likes it stuffy and so he says, he doesn't just say, you need fresh air, it's too stuffy in here. Now the cold guy, he's thinking, I need the window closed. Why? I'm freezing. I'm freezing in the bones. I'm freezing cold, So, and each one, so this is the honest question you have to ask yourself. what's the other person feeling? This is an honest question. And this will resolve all the disputes. What is the other person, and in fact, if you ever have a machlekes between them, windows goes, you should ask the other person, why do you want what you want? Is the pshat you want what you want because your tucker really stuffy in here and it's really unpleasant for you, finding it difficult to breathe? To that extent, then I hear. Then let's solve it something. But then let him ask the other guy who's cold, right? Is it just more comfortable for you, or are you genuinely very, very cold? And it could be he's feeling very weak and unwell. Now, it's not my fault, you'll say, we told him to be ill. Well, okay, that's how he's feeling. So you have to know ask the other guy, stop being selfish. Ask the other guy, what's the pshat? It's not just windows open. Are you genuinely very, very hot, you can't breathe? Or is it just being more nice, more pleasant? And then he should ask you, how come, are you freezing cold and it's really, really unpleasant for you? Right? Or is it just more comfortable? You have to work it out. Anyway, whoever answered that question, if it's just 50-50, then you might as well flip a coin. But if it's, ask the other person. That's really the answer to windows open as well. And I want to tell you a secret. You're going to get married one day, Bez Hashem. And I've done this many times. And only once in all my time have I got an answer where I've asked the husband and wife, tell me, do you guys, try it with your parents, okay? Ask your parents. In fact, you might be able to answer this. Do your parents agree on windows open and windows closed? In other words, do husband and wife actually have the same opinion on windows open and windows closed? I have found that 95% of the time, at least, the husband wants one thing and the wife wants the other. And there's no rules about which one wants which, right? It's almost always like that, almost always. It is very rare to find, and please do some experiment, go home and ask, come back with your answers next week. Tell me how many of your parents actually usually agree on windows open, windows closed, right? I don't mean agree as they're not fighting like that. I mean, one of them normally likes it nice and warm, and the other one likes a bit of air. That's usually how it is. Why? Why is that the case? It's very simple. Because Baruch Hu wants you to work on your midas. He wants you to work on your midas. He puts people together in a marriage, so not everything is exactly the same, on purpose. So you work on your midas. And when you're with other people in a room, you've got to work on your midas. One guy's going to want to open, one guy's going to want it closed. So you have to ask yourself, why does the other guy want what he wants? Stop thinking about yourself. Why does he want it what he wants? Now, he might just say, well, I don't really care. I just prefer a bit more air. Okay, in that case, he should be thinking about you. But I'm just saying, you've got to switch your focus to why do you want it? Okay, let's get back to last week's questions. I didn't really do Purim Cotton. There's not much to say about Purim Cotton at this point, except for the fact that there's no tachana. Okay. Now, no, there is more to say, but okay. Somebody asked last week, we've got here, Ein apotropos la'arayos was one of the questions, and do you respect reform and liberal? Another question. Do you respect nom from people? There's another question about nom from people. Is he chayav la'asid lavai? When he gets to... Tinik Shanishba type thing as well. Yeah. So, that is a very important question. In terms of a nom from guy, you want to know if he's chayav la'asid lavai. So there's a famous Reb Chaim Brisker, and Reb Chaim says that if you are an apikoros, then it doesn't help you to be a Tinik Shanishba. In other words, Tinik Shanishba means we feel bad for a guy that hasn't been brought up in the right way, and therefore there is an excuse. However, the Yud Gimel Ikrim, those 13, you've got to be in the game. There, even if you didn't know, what can we do? You need to know the Yud Gimel Ikrim to get into Olam Haba. You have to wear the badge. The badge called the Olam Haba badge. You need to know the 13 Ikrim. That you need to have. You know them, you need to believe in them, and then you can get into Olam Haba. If you don't have that, so he used to say, if you're Nebuch Nabikarius, you're still an Apikarius. In other words, that's just what you need. The rest of it you can apply Tinik Shanishba, and Chaz Nish says famously that most people nowadays are Tinik Shanishba in terms of they weren't given proper education. But if it's somebody that was really brought up with Torah mitzvahs, and now they're just doing it, lahachis, which means to, in an angry way, and if you're mavazer Torah, if you're mavazer Talmid Chachamim, mavazer means to disgrace and degrade and to put it down. If you do that, and there's somebody out there that I'm thinking of, one of these video things, that if you're mavazeh Torah, mitzvahs, Talmid Chachamim, you're pickled. You're going to be, that's the worst. That is the worst possible. And that, the Gemara says, the person's finished. That's like the worst thing you could possibly do. To mavazeh Hashem's Torah is terrible. And therefore, and that we don't say so easily, Tinik Shanishba. As we said, sometimes these people, they know very, very well exactly what they're saying, how they're saying it. And sometimes you can't be Mr. Nice Guy all the time. right? Do tshuva, different story. But if a guy's going to be mevazeh Torah, he's going to disgrace the Torah, there's no excuses for that. Yeah.
If there's someone who's not from and it's lahachis, and he touches your wine, and it's not Russian.
Yeah.
There's no
We hold you're not supposed to drink it, yeah. Hold you're not supposed to drink it. Believe it or not. Yeah. Ein apotropos la'arayos. In the 2 minutes that we have, ein apotropos la'arayos. Literally 2 minutes, it just turned. Okay, ein apotropos la'arayos means, as we've spoken about in the past, you do not trust yourself. Ein apotropos la'arayos means there is no guardian for arayos. That means to say, you can't say, I'm from with anybody else, don't worry. It will never happen to me, is not something that a yid says. And the Gemara demonstrates this. With the Gemara, see the book for the diving board detail, the story we spoke about in the past, yeah, fine, lovely. But the Gemara says in Kedushin, about Nura Bei Amram. You heard of Nura Bei Amram? The fire in the house of Amram. That's brought in the end of Gemara in Kedushin, where the Gemara says about Gedolei Yisrael Tanoim, who were the greatest of the great. That it says about Amram, Reb Amram Chasidah, he was called, the pious one. That means you don't get called a chassid if you're not on top level. Yeah, that's an accolade from the Gemara. And the Gemara says that one day he saw a lady in some upper room, and he was possessed by taiva, and he took this incredibly heavy ladder, showed extra unbelievable strength, put the ladder that was running up the ladder, mamash, to do an aveira. Amram Chasidah, the great, as he's running up there, he slips on the ladder, slips somewhat, a rung breaks, and he slips one rung. And as he catches himself, he screams, Nur Bei Amram, fire! Fire in the house of Amram. And the Rabbanan say, fire! And they come to see what's going on, and he's, what are you doing? You're on a ladder, lady up there. They say, you're embarrassing us. And he says, better that I be embarrassed in this world than be embarrassed in the next world. And at that moment, it says, because of that Maisa, the Yetzer Hara left him. Done with the Yetzer Hara. A person that could achieve such thing, he was embarrassed himself. Can you imagine? A God will be Yisrael. And he was willing to take on such a busha, but he knew that would stop him. And now, Rabbi, I want to tell you, why didn't he just go down the ladder? Why did he call fire, fire? What's he doing? Just go down the ladder, go home, save yourself the embarrassment, end of the story. The story should have gone. He put the ladder, he fell, the rung broke, and at that point he said, what am I doing? He went down the ladder, he went home, and end of story. Why didn't it say that? You know why I didn't say that? Because he understood the power of the Yetzer Hara, and if he would have said, what am I doing? I've got to go down. He would have gone down 2 steps, and then up 1 step, and then down 1 step, and up 1 step, and boom, up he goes. So he understood at the moment where you could grab yourself, I've got to do something, Nur Bei Amram, fire! And that's how he became Reb Amram Chasidah. Azar level, if the greatest of the greats that the Gemara brings, this can happen to the greatest of the great, Kal v'chomer, we don't go anywhere near it. We don't go anywhere near it because we understand how dangerous it is. And the Gemara is bringing it down to tell you, even Amram Chasidah had a Yetzer Hara. By the end he didn't have a Yetzer Hara, but that's because he did what he did. But it just shows you, that's the point of Ein apotropos la'arayos. Never trust yourself. Don't say I'm firmer than anybody else, I'll be okay. I know these guys, there was one guy, and I'm way over time, but I can't resist. There's one guy, and I remember he came to me, and his family he said to me, mama's crying his eyes out, and he said to me, I'm the frummest guy in the family, that my parents have a code on the computer, a lock, a password, nobody can get past it. But me, they give me the password because I'm the frummest guy. And I'm the guy that's messing up, they don't even realize. If my parents only knew, Mr. Frummy, they think. Rabbi say, Ein apotropos la'arayos. There's nothing, you don't go near it, don't trust yourself. That's why we don't go near it, because, and that's why there's Hilchos Yichud and everything else, because Ein apotropos la'arayos. More to say about that, we've gone way over time. Ad kan, a chodesh, asher nepach miyogin l'simcha. Be'ez Hashem, should be a good chodesh.